Welcome back on this glorious and amazing day, and thanks for joining. I have a story to share with you today. There were two people. One person was called Feather. The other person was called Cinder Block. Yes, Cinder Block. You know, those heavy blocks that you build homes. Those heavy cinder blocks. Cinder Block seemed to be a very happy person. There was ups in life, downs in life, but Cinder Block seemed to always be content. Feather was always miserable, stressed, anxious, and had a very, very, very tough life. So one day, Cinder Block meets with Feather and says, "Feather, can we talk? My name is Cinder Block. And I understand your name is Feather." "Yes." And Feather right away gets so defensive and says, "Talk about what?" "No, talk about compassion." "Compassion? Compassion? Compassion? Compassion about what?" "No, just have a gentle talk." "What do you want to do to me?" "No, nothing. I want to maybe help you." "Help me?" And Feather begins to move back because Feather is suspicious. Remember, Feather is very suspicious. Hello. And Feather doesn't trust. And do you blame Feather? To make the long story short, Cinder Block says, "It seems like whenever I pass by you, you look terrified. You look scared. You look anxious." And Feather interrupts and says, yes, you are right. I'm happy you noticed that." And Cinder Block says, "I live in the same neighborhood as you. I live in the same house as you. Talk to me. Maybe I could share with you how to live a better life." No. Can't live a better life. I'm telling you, life is tough." And Cinder Block says, "What is it about life that's so tough?" And Feather says, "You see, every time my feather sits, I am Feather, and I'm very light. And I sit in the park or wherever it is, and I enjoy that enjoyment, that pleasure, that moment of tranquility is gone, always with something else. You think that life is going to be good, and suddenly a wind comes in. And my feather starts being blown apart, and it knocks into the trees, into the stones, and I feel like I can't breathe. I feel so overwhelmed, and I just totally lost control over my life." And Cinder Block is looking at Feather with great compassion and offers Feather a tissue. And Feather really appreciates that there's sensitivity out there, and Feather wipes up their tears. Cinder Block just listens on. But I won't tell you the long story because that takes about 40 to 45 minutes. I'll share with you maybe another minute or two. And then Feather goes on and says, "You know what? There's some times where there's a rain and the rain starts blowing me around, the winds around the rain. And wherever I try to place myself in a safe place, there's always something that happens that doesn't allow me to just be and just live in calmness and tranquility. There's always a trigger. There's always a wind. There's always a storm. There's always a situation. There's always hurtful people." I can't believe I'm gonna say this. But sometimes I wonder if life is even worth it. I wonder if life is even worth it. Life is so hard. You know what, Cinder Block? I'll finish up with one more thought. Even when life is calm, even when everything is good, even when the sun shines, even when there's no wind, even when there's nice people, I'm still anxious. You know why? Because I start thinking, so when will this moment be over? Will it be a second, a minute, an hour? Because I know another wind will come. So even when it's calm and quiet, and then people make fun of me about my weight because I just don't have a choice. I just get so anxious. I run to food because that gives me an illusion that I'm grounded. It just pushes down my emotions, and it's so hard. Thank you so much, Cinderblock, for asking me. No one really asks me these type of questions. And I feel sometimes I'm so alone. I don't want to be around people because people are just going to make fun of me. So Cinderblock says, please join me next week. Cinderblock says, thanks for pressing the like button. And Cinderblock says, thanks for subscribing. And Cinderblock says, thank you so much for remembering that you're way greater than you think you are. And something Feather has almost never done for many months. Feather approaches Cinderblock and gives Cinderblock a big hug for their compassion and listening ear.